Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. Um, I'm about to show you a recipe I made up a few years ago. It's basically chicken, rice, and broccoli casserole. Makes a great Sunday dinner and is an excellent answer to the oldest question in the world, which, of course, is what's for dinner. So I thought, since I'm off today, I would show you how easy it is to make this delicious casserole. So, what I have done already is I melted a stick of butter in my glass casserole dish. You can make this in a cast iron skillet, Dutch oven, metal 9 by 13 cake pan, whatever you have. Any will work just fine, any of those. You could even use one of those disposable aluminum roasting pans, whatever you got will work just fine. So, and I like to use boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Um, you can use chicken breast, of course. You can use chicken legs, whatever you got. It'll all come out great. I do like thighs and or legs. Dark chicken meat tends to have more flavor. But anything, even a drier meat like chicken breast, as long as it's cooked and or baked low and slow, it will come out delicious for you and juicy. So, as I said, I melted a stick of butter in my casserole dish and along with poured in some chicken broth I had stored from a full whole chicken that I baked here all back. I always save the broth from meals like that because especially chicken broth that comes about from baking a chicken is so much richer and tastier than a box or can of chicken broth you buy at the store. But anyway, as I said, I like using boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and that's what I have here. I trimmed off the majority of the fat. Leaving some of it on is a good idea because it will help even, make your chicken even juicier than what it already is. And you can always pull that off on your plate. So, what I'm going to do with my meat fork is puncture some holes in each piece before putting it into the pan of broth and butter. This will allow the pieces of chicken to absorb that broth and butter as well as the seasonings. So, and you want to do both sides of the chicken so that it can absorb it completely throughout each piece. So, but before I drop that into the broth, I'm going to season it a little bit. Now, you can obviously use whatever seasonings you like best, but Paula Deen, the well-known cook and baker, agrees with me on seasoning, uh, the best combination of seasoning to use for practically every dish out there is salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And I like using the ground peppercorns. Usually I prefer sea salt. I don't have any on hand at the moment, so I'm just using regular iodized table salt. Um, I also like including parsley flakes in dishes like this. And I'm going to add just a hint of ground curry. Now, there's two different kinds of curry. Most people, when they think of curry, the version from India is what most people think of, which is it puts an excellent flavor into anything you use. And actually, I just noticed this is not ground curry, it's ground ginger. I just happened to look over to my spice rack and saw my curry powder sitting there. So I thought, do I have two containers of that? No, I didn't. I grabbed the wrong one. So thankfully I noticed that. At any rate, what the point I was making about the curry, though, as I said, most people think of curry from India. That is an excellent choice on anything you want to put it in. However, I prefer Jamaica curry. Either of those, however, you do not need very much at all to put that flavor into your dish. So we will only use just a slight light dash or two. Okay, so I've got a whisk handy. I'm going to just drop in some salt, and just a pinch or two is plenty. And if you happen to pour out too much, and if you're slightly superstitious like I am, throw that excess salt over your left shoulder for good luck. And there goes my lid down in the butter and broth. So we'll set that to the side so that I can clean that. Okay, so we've put our salt into this broth and butter mixture. I'm going to grind up, I don't know, roughly a teaspoon or so of ground pepper, along with a couple or 3 dashes of garlic powder, parsley flakes, about 5 or 6 dashes of that, and just a little dash of curry powder. Now, I'm going to take my whisk, blend that together nicely, and by the way, I've already got my oven preheated to 325 because, as I said, we're going to cook this low and slow. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Dinner probably won't be wanted here today, or, you know, probably won't be eaten till 5, 6 o'clock, possibly later. So that's why we're cooking it low and slow, and why I'm beginning this dish now. All right, I put in my seasoning, whisked it real well, and let's just go ahead and now the rice I am going to use. I never tried this till about 3 or 4 months ago. The weekend that my friend Jonna came over, and the 3 of us, she, my husband, and I, all went over to eat at Der Dutchman, which was the first time my husband and I had eaten there. I think she stayed 3 nights, but one of those evenings we made whatever for dinner, and we'd been to the store that afternoon to pick up a few things, and she suggested me getting this Mahatma seasoned yellow rice. I could not believe how delicious it was. I had never had it before in my life. I'd noticed it on the shelves over the years in that section at the grocery, but I never tried it, never knew anyone that had, and it is absolutely the daggone best tasting rice I've ever had in my life. It will complement anything. Now, rice pilaf, like the Rice-A-Roni brand, also has a delicious taste to it, which would be great in this particular dish. But if you just have regular rice, brown rice, whichever, whether it's instant or, you know, original, where it takes 25, 30 minutes to cook in a kettle on your stovetop, any of those types of rices can be used. But I'm going to use this yellow rice today that my dear friend Jonna suggested to me when she was here that weekend. So, and it's one of those, if you're going to cook it on your stovetop, you would cook it 25, 30 minutes. It's not an instant rice, which is just that much better for such a dish as this. So, and it's got the seasoning already mixed in with the rice. So I'm going to whisk that really well. That way that's all blended good. And then I'm going to set my pieces of boneless, skinless chicken breast down into this. Okay. Now, because I have handled raw chicken in these gloves. I'm going to grab a bag of frozen broccoli and add that to this as well. I'll be right back. Okay, and I like using frozen, well, any kind of frozen vegetable usually has a better taste to it, even or as good as fresh vegetables. It's mid-January, so obviously I don't have fresh broccoli growing in my garden, but I'm just going to pour these broccoli florets into my casserole. A couple of them are frozen together, so I'll just separate the couple that are like that and just set them in there however they fit. What's that phrase? Get in where you can fit in. And for the first at least 45 minutes to an hour of this, and actually I'm probably going to turn my temperature down to 300 so that, as I said, it can bake low and slow for an hour covered. And then at that point, I will uncover it, check it with my meat thermometer, make sure my chicken is at least 160 degrees, which is considered done. And at that point, I will remove the aluminum foil and let it bake perhaps at 350 to 375 for about 10 or 15 minutes just to brown it a little. That's not an absolute necessity to do that, because if your chicken's done, then that means the casserole's done, and you can very definitely pull it out at that point and proceed to eat it. So I'm going to put this in my preheated oven. As I said, I am going to turn it down to 300. I've got it preheated to 325. I'm going to pop that in there, let it cook low and slow for at least an hour, hour and a half, and I will at least post a picture of the finished product. So happy cooking, happy baking, and happy eating. I will let you see how this turns out.